try, don't be threatened. Right? And again, we're so uncomfortable with this idea of change that anything new is a threat to us.
So you clearly see that we're kind of in the Kevin Hart Productions, right? Because that came from Hart Productions, Heart to Heart. Now let's go back to the pivot, right? And how do we, if we just talked about being the understanding and being the source, how do we continue to stay relevant? How do we, as brands and businesses, still stay true to ourselves, but still stay relevant to what's happening within the times? And Kevin Hart spoke about this on The Pivot. Let's talk about it.
Comedy, it's changing. Those doors are open because people figure out ways to change the locks and open them up again. I'm just changing the locks and opening up again. Chappelle, Rock, like you're seeing an energy that's constantly reinventing a thing that has been around forever. But if you don't have the talent and understanding with the talent of how to create, recreate, and move and operate so that it's fun and that it seems new and energized every time, it will be stagnant.
Telling you, that understanding word is just amazing. Two key words he said. In order to reinvent yourself, you need talent and understanding. Two key words, right? Not one or the other, right? Not just passion, talent and understanding. Like we have to look at these two things as far as I want to stay on top. I want to stay relevant. Not even maybe necessarily on top, but I want to stay relevant in the game. And I have to understand that it always evolves. It's never going to necessarily stay the same. So my talent can only take me so far in a certain season of my industry. It's going to be my understanding of the industry and understanding of the times that is going to continue to help me grow over and over again, whether it is from a in-person standpoint, a digital standpoint, whether it is from a style standpoint, right? You constantly have to have those two things intact. Now, I do want to talk about what are some of the things that we've seen that brands have successfully and businesses successfully reinvented themselves over and over. Because I believe the thought process to some of reinvention is just maybe a total rebrand, right? And we've covered it on a YouTube live where a rebrand is not just let me change the front face of things. Let me change the logo. Let me just change the look. And cool, we're here. There's, I believe, insider language that changes within our industry at all times, right? If we come from, let's say, for those who understand slang, right? For those who understand or have a knowledge of it, we know throughout the years, slang changes and we have to continuously keep up if we want to seem relevant, right? It's the same thing when it comes to the brands and the business side of things. The insider language, because each industry has certain type of language that changes within the season, right?
Yeah.
So we have to have that ear to the streets as far as our industry of what do we need to know, what type of lingo we need to know, what kind of vibes we need to know when it comes to our stuff, and how can we apply it into our own brand? Because if not, then we're going to seem like the old people in the industry, still using old insider language, right? Just like how some people grew up just old slang, like it doesn't make sense anymore. Who says that anymore? Who does
Yeah.
that anymore? And so I think one of the things, and kind of go back and forth, like one of the things is definitely understanding the current insider language of your industry.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people get stuck in their own way of doing things. And that's the truth, not the concept of we appreciate how we do it and we don't want to change because it's how we are. You can kind of get stuck in that limbo. So, when you think about, well, what is the one constant? What is the one thing that we know for sure is going to happen? We know for sure change is going to happen. Change is the one constant. So when someone gets stuck too far into their own ways because they've had success, right? They're seeing success. It is so difficult, and it's actually a really dark hole to fall into because you get too comfortable being there saying, well, what's the point of changing? Do you know what I've been through, or do you know who I am? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. You've been through a lot. It's valid. We totally understand. But guess who doesn't care? The consumers don't, right? People want what is for them. So you can't teach or we can't say, hey, you have to speak the other person's language. You have to give customers and clients what they want. But you're not willing to compromise in some areas. And I think ultimately a lot of people need to remember there's a difference between changing and upgrading or becoming better and innovating. We're not saying, when you hear us talk about change and you need to have this understanding and be more creative or just find ways to better connect with people, we're not saying change who you are. We're not essentially saying your brand or your business needs to become a different thing, believe in something different. We're just saying your method for delivering what you believe has to be different.
Right.
It has to be unique to the way people are receiving it now. So, yeah, I would say from my end, it's so difficult that when you've had success or you're comfortable doing something one way, you almost get stubborn. You're saying, what's the point of changing? Well, the point of changing is that change is constant. Things are always evolving, and you have to deliver it to people in a way that they're receptive of it. Because I do believe it's all needed. When you talk about even motivation and education, it is needed. We know we need that. But how are we doing it differently to connect with, let's say, I think of Bronny James as someone who's really leading that next generation. How do we deliver it in a way that is maybe interesting to him, where he's wanting to get behind it and tell the people who are following him, hey, this is the way. When he starts embracing those messages, or people like him of the next generation start embracing that kind of message, that lets you know that we're doing a good job, or your company, your brand, your business is doing a good job of extending the lifeline of that business.
Yeah, and I'll say my last one would be um st- staying in tune as far as what's actually happening. Like whether it's events, whether it's new videos, pretty much staying in tune. Like people will say, like, always keep you a youngin' close to you. That's
real.
kind of doing what you're doing, right? Because at the end of the day, it really boils down to like being open to feedback, right? Are you open to what maybe some of the new people that are coming into the industry have to say and offer, right? Are you also immersing yourself in the actual industry as far as just the current events that are happening, the current content that's coming out and things like that, and just seeing and being more of a fan of the industry than necessarily always trying to run the industry, because you're going to come in with an open mind of like, oh, they do it this way, how can we apply this over here? Oh, they do it this way, how can we apply it in our kind of circle, in our kind of company? And I think this is something that has to be, at least I would say, maybe once a year minimum, that you're getting back as if you are starting brand new. and getting in the mix of certain things, regardless if you're an introvert, extrovert, there's virtual events, there's pre-recorded stuff to watch, read, things like that. But seeing who's new coming up and not looking at them like, oh, they're new, they don't know anything. It's like, oh, they're new. What fresh stuff do they come up with? What kind of different perspectives are they bringing? What kind of energy are they bringing into the industry that maybe we have to pay attention to? That at the end of the day, can we use this? Can we not? Can we collaborate? Can we not? So I think, always
Yeah.
for how we say, always having a youngin in near you, but mainly just always staying in tune with the new stuff that is coming out is going to help you kind of reinvent yourself over and over again.
Yeah, yeah, and it's probably in line with where we're going next in terms of the next topic or the next videos. But it's just this idea of try, don't be threatened, right? And again, we're so uncomfortable with this idea of change that anything new is a threat to us. We think that if you succeed, that means I fail. And so we're saying, no, 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 no. I don't want you to win. I don't want you to enter. I don't even want to adapt to you or maybe follow after your ways that could be working, because that means maybe I'm giving you the ticket or opening the door for you to enter, as opposed to saying, well, let me try. Again, I got to go back to the only constant is change. So I get the idea of us being uncomfortable with change, but from time to time, we have to be willing to try and not feel so threatened by everything. So that's a good reminder, I think, for everybody to really walk with. Shoot, heck, even myself, like, just try something new from time to time. It's all right.
Facts.